So that's enough of that for the time being. What I want to talk about now, just show you, is some of the research we've been doing, and we've sort of grouped it into this title, I guess, called WebGL Studio. I do emphasize this is not a product. I'm not selling you a product. It's a collection of ideas with no polish that have been made by university researchers for whom user interfaces and design and workflows is a bit anathema, right? So bear with me as I go through a whole host of buttons, and hopefully I can try and convince you that the final result is interesting, and maybe a company, whether it comes from us or it comes from somewhere else, will be able to develop this core, this raw technology into something more interesting. So we're going to see some demos about model review and animation, some scene editing in general, and then some post-processing and graph-based editing. And Justin, perhaps if you could flag me up when I'm running out of time, just because I can talk for hours and a little bit boring. So let's skip out of here and go to WebGL Studio. So this is, so that's what we're going to talk about. Let's go to Maya first. So here is an elephant that comes from a VFX company in Barcelona, a small one called Minimo. And actually, there's two guys who used to work at Double Negative, Felix and Maurizio, Italian guys. They left Double Negative a few years ago, and they decided that they were going to set up their own VFX company. And they said they were bored of chasing tax breaks in companies around the world, and they said, we want to live in Barcelona, and we're going to bring the VFX world to Barcelona. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's there or not. And because they've got quite a bit of reputation, and a lot of people like them, they've set up there, and they've got some work, right? But because they're a small company, there's only about 10 of them, they can't do all the work in-house. They have to collaborate with other people. They have to collaborate with people specifically in Berlin and Milan and Buenos Aires in Argentina, right? And very fortunately, we've got a good relationship with them, and they've been sending us some stuff for us to test, and they've been trying to break our technology. And the first thing they sent us was this elephant, right? And I'm going to quickly hide this high-resolution version, and there's a low-resolution version here. So he said, fine, here's a low-resolution version of this elephant. Can you render this elephant? Well, I said, well, I think we probably can. So I exported this elephant as an OBJ in OBJ format, and actually I can probably load it straight from, let me just skip out of full screen, view, exit presentation mode. And I go to here, so here's the OBJ, it's 2.5 megabytes, I drag and drop it in, I insert it in the scene, and there's my elephant. Fine, very well, very nice. And then I can add a texture, I can go find combine texture, and I can add that, and upload and import. And okay, fine. So here's my elephant, very nice, it's very low resolution, it's running in the web browser. I can do all sorts of stuff I want to this elephant now, okay? I can change this material, I can maybe make it, let me delete this material quickly, options, delete, create material, standard material, and so I'm going to add this in the color channel. I'm going to add this texture again. There it is, fine. And then I can change things, right? I can change the light, I can change the color, I can, that's a bit of an ugly color. I can add another light here in the scene. I can go scene, node, create light, and I can move that light around. And the most important thing about this now is that if I want to, I can save this scene and I can share it, right? So I can say, for example, I've made this asset, I want someone to review it to say, do you like it or do you not like it? They're in Berlin, I'm in Barcelona. Rather than send it through WeTransfer or something like that, or Google Drive, I can just drag and drop it into my, my browser and send them the link and they'll be able to see it. And that worked in the low resolution stuff, but it can also do with the high resolution stuff. And I'm not going to upload this now because it's this file here, this high resolution OBJ, is 174 megabytes, right? So it takes a little bit to upload, but in the words of Blue Peter, here's one I made earlier. I can scroll down to a high resolution of this mesh. It takes a bit of time to load, but it does load eventually, right? Now this is a 1 million poly elephant which is used in production, and there's no displacement maps or normal maps or anything on this. This is all geometry, and this, funnily enough, for the more technical among you, is impossible to load in one single mesh because WebGL doesn't support meshes larger than 65,000 faces. So what we had to do for this was write a plugin for Maya to automatically cut the mesh into 30 smaller bits, and then you upload that all in one big lump. And then once you've done that, it loads quite well. And we're quite pleased with this because now we have what many more are using as a production version of their initial asset running in the web. So the idea is you could drag and drop this into your or upload it from Maya, have a button, a plugin for Maya to upload it, and then send that link, this link up here. It's a bit long and university-y, but we could send it to someone in the world, and they could edit it and use it and review it, right? So what can they do when they review it? Well, it's a good question. You could say, okay, fine. I'm going to very quickly paint this node. I'm going to say, doesn't have material. Okay, fine. This node has material. And I'm going to say, okay, I want this color. I'm going to say, okay, fine, this ear. I'm going to paint on the ear here. And I'm going to say, the ear lacks detail. Save. So now, when I load this scene, when I load this scene in my little viewer, when someone wants to comment on this scene, they can say, the ear lacks details. I don't like the nose. Can you change the animation on the feet? And I'll show you animation in a little bit. And so the idea is you have this remote possibility that two people can connect to the same asset, the same thing, watch the same screen, and comment and work on it collaboratively. And the idea is if we can more closely link this in with real production tools such as Maya or Studio Max or whatever it is, then we're getting close to that dream where people can collaborate on the same assets in real time. Okay, what was the other thing I want to show you? Okay, fine. Let's add some stuff into this scene. And one important thing here as well is that this is 3D on the web, but it also has all this other stuff, which is basically 2D HTML. And as you can see, it has the power of HTML development. You can create user interfaces very easily. You can develop your app very easily. And so I'm going to just show you a few things about what we can do with that. So I'm going to add here a node primitive. And I'm going to create a plane, and I'm going to make this bigger. And what will I add here? I'm going to add on this node a material, and create a standard material, and I'm going to put some grass on here, make it look a bit grassy. Here are some assets that I have in my sort of resources manager, which I can use to upload things. I've got a grass tile here. Go on, let's use the high resolution one, why not? It looks a bit rubbish at the moment because we need to change the tiling. So let's change that to 1,000 and 1,000. There's our grass. It still looks a bit grassy. I'm going to add a normal map. So I can very quickly adjust the normals on this grass tile. Again, that needs to be transformed. Okay, so I've got normal map grass there, and then I'm going to add a sky. Okay, fine. So here in the root, I'm going to add an environment map and a sky. Where do I see skies? Here. And then one more thing I need to do. This is all very component based, so I can add components to my scene and delete components in a very sort of logical kind of way. And so then I have my skybox. Okay, fine. So let's imagine this is a little scene. I'm making a scene for a computer game. I'm going to add some more light to it. Where's the other light that I had here? Let's just move this light a bit so make more space. Okay, so let's imagine I want to just add some post-processing to this scene, for example, right? What I can do is go here and go to Add Component and add an FX graph component. So now, let me just fix a few little bits. Now I have a special effects layer, a post-processing layer, you might say, on top of this, which I can edit. And this is a graph-based thing you might see in Nuke or something like this. Here's my original texture. I'm going to add a very simple blur texture. I'm going to drag this in here. Oops, missed. And I'm going to drag the blurred result out. And I'm going to give it 5 blurs and play. And so fine, there it's blurred. Well, okay, great, that blurring isn't that wonderful. Let's make a more glow effect. So I'm going to add a texture, I'm going to call it an operation, and I'm going to bring the result of the blur into 1. I'm going to bring the original texture into the other half, And I happen to know that the operation you need to create a glow effect is to find the maximum value between two colours, both the original texture and the blurred texture, and multiply it by a value. In this case, the value, let's call it 3. And I need to take the output of here to there and play that. And so now I have a glow effect. Well, it's a little bit over the top at the moment, right? So I can toggle that so I can see the glow effect. It's a little bit over the top. I want to find a way of controlling it rather than having to go back all the time to this graph component to change this value of the glow. I want to make it a little bit more interactive. So I can add a node here. It's a scene node. It's a global variable. And we're going to call it glow strength, right? We can call it anything we want. No, that's title. Cancel that. Fine. Name. Glow strength. And we'll give it a max value of 5 and a current value of 1. And we'll drag this into value. Now, what can we do with this now? It means that down here, turn the FX on, we have a little value. This glow strength value we've created is now in our main component that we've added here, and we can modify the glow on our graph as we go. So that's a very simple example of things you can do, and there's loads of other examples I could add in lookup tables or various other bits and bobs that I could use to modify my scene. But the idea is that you can have a layer which you control via the web, which you can control your FX. Okay. There's one more thing, a fun little joke that's worth showing, just to show the difference between web-based development and maybe production development. I'm going to add a very silly thing here, which is a primitive. Let's see if I remember how to do this. Let's rotate that, move it there, and make it a little bit bigger. And to this, I'm going to turn this FX off just for the time being, just so you see into this node here. I'm going to add another component, and this one's just a straight graph component. And I'll go and edit that graph. And here what I'm going to do is texture save, and here I'm going to add texture webcam, and I'm going to load this in here, and I'm going to call this texture webcam text, and play step. It's saying allow to use my webcam, and all I need to do now is go to this uniform here, create a material, standard material, and add very quickly in the color channel webcam text. And in theory, there I am, hello. So if I rotate this scene, oops, the rotate widget is still not working very well. Let's try this bigger one. That's better. And there I am. So, and it's decided to not work now. Never mind. Well, you saw it working. Oh no, allow. There you go. So I can wave. So I can even do the presentation, speak to you directly from the screen. I can even put it in the little top corner. So the idea is that there are this web-based stuff allows you to do. I know it's a silly example, right? But the point is there is integration you can do very, very quickly and very, very easily. And the webcam is a silly example, but I think what I'm trying to prove, what I'm trying to demonstrate, is that there are possibilities in web development that are so easy and so easy now to plug in and move that that it really. I think it's going to be the future anyway. Well, I'm biased, but there you go. So, before I finish, I want to just show two more things to do with animation, which is our current work. I'm going to reload this just to show it. Now, we started doing some, because animation is the next step. So we have model review and comparison and uploading and remote working, all that kind of stuff. But animation is very important. And in fact, the low resolution of the elephant that you saw, the reason we had that low resolution version was so we could animate it. And the early test in animation we did were just going to 3D Studio Max and creating a very simple scene. Here's a simple scene with like some real-time reflections in there and some bricks, and I play this scene, and we have a very simple animation, right? And the great thing about this kind of web-based real-time stuff is that I can choose any one of these blocks, let's say this one here, and I can very quickly change the attributes on that block. So I can create a material, and I want to make that material a different color, then I can make it blue, and I want to make it emissive, so I want to make it sort of glow a little bit, then I can improve the emissive, that. And so now it's glowing, and as you see, as it's falling now, you can see it reflected in the floor as well. And so there's this ability to sort of change things in real time and adjust things in real time and modify things in real time, which is kind of cool. But this was a very simple animation created by moving blocks around and applying some physics in 3D Studio Max, and it was all very well and good. But what we're really interested in characters. I did quite a bit of postdoc work in character animation. And so we had one character was made for us by a friendly artist. Where is he? He's called Walking. Here he is. And so again, this is a simple character, and you see the FX graph has been put on there just to show you the graph. Maybe just see it's interesting. I think it's like a where is it? I don't know where it is. Never mind. Is that there? No, never mind. So here we are. He's our little character. He's walking, and we haven't quite got inverse kinematics working yet in it, but we've got forward kinematics working. We've got the thing, so we can stop this now. And oops. Here's an interesting thing: is that if I press play. If any of you have used Unity, the games development tool Unity, you'll have this problem. If you press play and then you start changing things, when you press stop, it will automatically go back to the state the scene was before you pressed play. So even though I loaded a new scene, when I pressed stop, it said when you started playing you had this scene loaded, so it's gone back to the old scene. So I'm going to stop this scene now, and then I'm going to go and load in fact I'm going to load a different one. Load from server, and I'm going to load animation benchmark. So now we have instancing of all these different meshes, and they're all walking in collaboration. So basically now that's the next step for us, is to work on animation and get the animation working. Right now this is one example. As you can see, the scene tree for this is a whole host of bones and skeletons and weights and meshes and stuff, which is a bit of a pain to program from scratch. But you have to do it basically because that's the only way of doing it. Isn't it? There are no animation libraries in that sense, so you have to do it all from scratch. And we're lucky we've got some pretty crack JavaScript and 3D developers in our university which can help us do that. So let's finish off by going back to here. Yeah. No, the idea is it's almost, if you like, this is almost a competitor to Unity in that sense. No, competitor is the wrong word. Unity is an offline tool that's designed to make games that can be run multi-platform. And it's not, there is a web output for Unity, like you can create a game in Unity or create an application in Unity and it can run on the web, and that's a very common output. The difference is this doesn't have anything to do with Unity. This is all completely separate, all running in the web. And the advantage of this is that this is the editor we're seeing here right now, but you can save a scene. So I could save this scene now, and once that scene is saved, I can load it. If anyone, so this is a bit of a. Let's find this one here is quite a nice one with some post-production effects that we added on top of, like a little post-production graph to make it look a little bit different. We can add, this is another scene here we created. If you've played the game Dark Souls, anybody, this is the entire map of Dark Souls, which we hacked out of the game and loaded in there, so you can see exactly where you're going, which is quite interesting. This is actually an absolute ton of data as well, which is kind of compressed. We've had a lot of the data when it comes in, we have to compress it specially so it can be distributed via the web.